Hello, and welcome to Asking Good Questions, the podcast where we dive into the transformation of finance and accounting through the lens of those amazing people leading that charge. I am your host, Edward Roske, as always, attempting at least to ask the good questions. In a world where business increasingly demands real time financial insights without that overhead of having to build out an entire finance department. My guest today has pioneered a solution that is disrupting traditional accounting and finance models. She launched BST's virtual accounting solutions 7 years ago and has since scaled it to millions almost in annual revenue, serving clients ranging from major brands to nonprofits across multiple states in the US. She's been described as a visionary with an entrepreneurial mindset, and she's changing how modern CFO services deliver value in the digital area. Joining me today is Kristen Berdar, partner at BST and Company, and the driving force behind their virtual accounting solutions division. Kristen, welcome to Asking Good Questions.
Thank you so much for having me, Edward. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Kristen, we're going to start with a career pivot, which we're going to go back in the Wayback Machine to you were an accounting professional. You were an established accounting professional, and you decided to launch the virtual accounting solutions area at BST. What told you the market was ready for it? Did you see signals? Were there business pains you uncovered? Like, how did you figure out this is an opportunity to rethink how the world delivers accounting services?
Yes, to all of that. I did have that epiphany. I had spent more than 20 years in our tax world and our consulting world and our audits. I just got tired one day about having to clean up our tax clients' books, right? So they would come to us, they would need tax services, told us throughout the year that they were keeping current on items, and then you would see their books at the end of the year and they were just a mess. They were incomplete, the bank accounts weren't reconciled. We were like, how are you managing your business on a day-to-day basis? And to which they would run, well, I call the bank and get a balance in the bank account. And I had decided that enough was enough, and I was going to help clients. I was missing the consulting piece of it that I had with my clients on a more than an annual basis. And I wanted to get back into that operational side, and I wanted to help them from an operational standpoint so that they could really exponentially excel their businesses and grow.
Well, I love the idea that companies can focus on what they're really good at. Traditionally, doing a startup and trying to get to from small to mid-size to market to enterprise, it required having to figure out how to do a good job at finance and accounting and HR and legal and IT and I don't know, staffing and hiring and termination, like you name it. And now we're actually at a world where we can say, let's go find people that are better at that, that are actually specialized. But what surprises me, why it hasn't happened to this point, I'm thinking it's because, and I'm going to pigeonhole half of my viewers here, accountings are more traditionally oriented in their mindset. They think because this has worked really well and our job is governance and compliance and making sure everything adds up, we're going to keep doing it that way. So, what led you down that entrepreneurial path? Like, what made you say, I've got a way I could restructure this and do it differently, as opposed to playing it safe, doing the traditional conventional services route?
I think at the time I was starting, outsourcing as a whole was starting to gain momentum within the accounting world. And so I had some good peers that I kind of leaned on a little bit with some ideas and said, this is what I'd like to do. Do you think this is going to fly? And I had a lot of support. I had support from my full partner group to move forward with my ideas and my thoughts. And as I was already a partner in my firm, so that being said, it comes with a little bit of entrepreneurial mindset to begin with. But I saw a problem that I wanted to solve and wanted to, go out there and help our clients and expand our services.
Cool. So let's talk about any resistance that you faced. Are there still a segment of CEOs or CFOs that like the physical presence of an accounting team that just, I don't know, want to be able to look over and watch them reconcile something?
Yes, so definitely some resistance. A lot of bankers that I met with in the beginning too were, oh, I have this great client and they need a lot of help. And I would say, great, here's what I got. And they'd say, well, when you get it off the ground or when you do that, when you have some more clients and it's proven, give us a call back. And some of business owners in the beginning were very used to their CFO, controller, accountant sitting in that office next to them. They wanted to provide oversight. They wanted to be able to call them into their office and ask questions. And that was not the business model. I wanted to be able to answer questions and know and help more than just the client that I could get to on a Monday and the client I could get to on a Tuesday or the staff could get to. So it really was very important to me that it be a flexible, virtual, not in somebody's office. I wanted them to use their real estate in their office for revenue generating, not overhead ideas. So there was a lot of resistance, and actually COVID excelled all of that. So when COVID came and shut the world down, they all realized that, hey, I can do this remotely and I can rely on the best of the best from a remote office, and maybe I don't need them sitting next to me in my office. So I guess in hindsight, for as painful as COVID was for the world, it excelled the business.
Yeah, we're going to add this to our list of yet another good thing about pandemics, that they do shove us away from one way of thinking into another way of thinking. It's really interesting and important to think that you did create this pre-COVID, and to that point about resistance, now it's obvious you all don't need to live within 50 miles of a corporate headquarters to be able to get something done. We can live anywhere we want, we can function, but then also that function doesn't have to remain in-house. It can go outside. Knowing that we now have a bunch of workers rising up, Gen Z, who really have entered the workforce mostly since the start of pandemic. We have millennials who definitely picked up on those lessons very quickly. Is there a generational divide in the receptiveness towards virtual services like virtual financial services?
Not anymore. No, I think beforehand, yes, absolutely. And I think the younger generations were more open to hiring somebody for expertise that they didn't have. And I think the more established business owners who kind of had those already established processes and policies weren't as open to somebody maybe not being there. But then as they got older in their career and wanted to turn their businesses over, they definitely found value in the expertise that they could just hire that, outside of their office.
Yes, my father passed away a few years ago, but he was a child of the mindset that if you are lucky enough to have a job, you should be there at the office before your boss arrives, and you should stay until after your boss leaves. And I kind of wonder, what would he think of this world where you can work from anywhere and are in some ways expected to, like the availability. I'm a Gen Xer, and we all talked about work-life balance. It's a concept. You Gen Z people go look it up. It's an antiquated term that basically meant I will do work from 9 to 5, and I will do whatever I want from 5 to 9, and neither the two shall meet. And now we can check on our personal lives while we're at work, and while we're at home, we check our email and we find out how things are doing. With the virtual services world, does it expand availability? Like, does it make it so people can actually get an answer at, after 5 p.m. or like on weekends? Or is it more of the traditional kind of everybody has to be in one place and it's really the 9 to 5 type world?
They don't need to be in one place. We actually do have a few resources that are offshore that are utilized for tasks, but they are a part of our team. Our consultants, CFOs, strategists, business advisors are all local here. So it's an additional resource because, as anybody in finance knows, the accounting professionals are dwindling, and it is nice to see some of the numbers coming back up, but resources need to be utilized when the work is there. So we tend to look where we can to get qualified, good people. And then depending on the time zone for the client will depend on the services that are rendered, but we usually have a pretty defined scope of what we're working on. And we try to reiterate that we are not brain surgeons, and that usually if we can't be reached for half an hour or an hour, that life, nobody is going to pass away. And it should be okay if we can pay a vendor, and we do our best to be proactive and make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted so that we don't get into that emergency. But we do have clients that close and have PE deals, and they're going till all hours of the night, and we make sure that we're available and can do what we can do for them.
Let's talk about that going outside of the traditional, one state, one location as companies scale up. So you serve clients, I mean, I lost track of all the states like Texas, Georgia, Missouri, New York. But as you just mentioned, you also internally have resources outside the United States. That gives you a multi-state, but also an awareness of kind of international issues that a lot of like localized departments, finance departments might miss. What kind of global advice could you give to companies that are saying, well, we want to go beyond just one country. We want to start having people in other areas. What would you advise them to do to kind of get beyond that local mindset?
Involve your tax accountant because the tax rules usually will override any other business, purpose. But for us, it was more client service, right? Like we wanted to be able to provide things overnight, right? So when we came in the next morning, things were done and it shortened our service timing. So, you just need to be aware of the companies you're using, who's on the hook for all of the employment, make sure they're trained. We vet them, right? So they in essence we get them through a partner firm that we have, but so they're actually part of their firm, not ours, but they only work for us. We don't share them. We don't leverage, them with other firms. They are part of our BST culture and they're a part of our BST team and they participate in our huddles and so we just treat them as an extension of our company. And if you do that, then I think you can be very successful at it. If you don't have any integration with them and you're not really speaking with them or you're sharing them and it's just one portion of a resource for them, I think in those situations you have a greater chance of failure.
How do you keep people from different locations, different companies, different kind of operating models? Technologically, how do you keep them connected? Is this a lot of really integrated traditional on-prem systems or using cloud technology?
Everything we do is cloud based from within our department. I mean, our firm is not like completely cloud based, but we've been paperless for almost probably 20 years now, the firm itself. But virtual accounting solutions and all of our outsourcing teams are now, for the most part, 100% cloud based. So we have set technology decks that we utilize to communicate with clients, to upload, download, request information. They can access their accounting software 24/7, 7 days a week. They just have a host of technology at their disposal that they might not be able to afford on their own if they needed to. We were able to leverage some pricing because of how we have that available to them. But we have weekly cash flow meetings with our clients. So we're constantly leveraging Teams and we use Box to collaborate and whatever our technology deck that's our best way to service them.
Have you found, just from a technology standpoint, that the best solutions are the most sophisticated ones, the ones that are kind of pulling in all the various different aspects together, or the ones that are kind of targeted to solve fundamental pain points? Like you just mentioned Teams, for instance, from communication, but clearly I'm not inside of Teams trying to enter debits and credits to my general ledger. So are you seeing
Right.
the more broad technologies as what tends to be the winning ones, or kind of more targeted point solutions?
Well, when clients come on board from an outsourcing standpoint, we have a set deck. So we'll use a Sage Intacct for like a general ledger or reporting dashboards, or we'll use QuickBooks Online, like depending on the size of the client, the sophistication, the complexity of the client. We use Teams to, have meetings or Zoom, right, to have those collaboration meetings. So we're always on camera. One of my favorite line with all of my staff is cameras on, eyes up, cameras on. And, it helps to create that relationship with the clients. If I'm just going to call on the phone and have a conversation, that's still better than an email, probably, but it's not like having a conversation. And when we can't just get on a plane where it's not financially responsible to get on a plane and just go visit whenever every now and then, it's a way for us to form that connection and to have that bond with our clients. But it's mostly solving their pain points and being able to bring in some sort of technology that they might be able. But we find the simpler the better to a certain degree. If we bring in a solution that they can't access or they don't know how to get around or go look at their financial data in, they're not going to use it, in which case it's just a waste. So we still need to have a way to communicate and get that financial data to them in the way that they can absorb it and they can understand it and it's useful.
I like the approach of simple and using technology to solve pain points. Are there additional things it's giving beyond that they might even know are existing pains. For instance, does it enhance financial governance? Does it reduce fraud? Does it give greater security? Are there things people are getting by leveraging technology that they didn't even realize they were missing?
Absolutely. Right. So when people come to us for outsourcing services, we have no less than two people, maybe even three people on an account. Whereas if they were going to go out and hire somebody and use those same dollars, they might get one person. They might, not even get a whole person. They might just get, a part-time person. So we give them multiple sets of eyes, multiple oversight. We bring in bill pay software that has approvals in it, that has some AI built right into it, right? From a coding standpoint, it can look for multiple invoices with the same number. We can see kind of what they've, historically what they've paid right within those softwares. So it definitely offers a lot of a new level of sophistication for them that they might not have had on their own, and definitely provide some oversight so that, the days of having a solo bookkeeper that had, bank bank authority and check signing authority and could wire money to anybody they want to really shouldn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's never a good thing when your second set of eyes is also your own set of eyes. So
Yes.
even for the honest people, it's better to have those multiple levels of checks and balance all fully integrated. Speaking of integrated, so one of the functions of finance and accounting now seems to be taking data from multiple places and saying kind of how does that relate? So not just, oh, this is what's on the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, and that's it, but how does our sales data affect that? Maybe we can look at more detailed sales or detailed marketing or detailed HR data. Are you being brought in to that kind of helping integrate data question?
We are. It's not an everyday occurrence, but we are on our more sophisticated clients. So we do track some statistical accounts. Our software tracks both financial and non-financial data. So we will track like one of our national brands, Benjamin Moore Paints. We'll track gallons of paint sold. We'll track different things from their POS system and bring them in and give them a non-financial KPI dashboard as well. So they can have everything in one place for them.
Awesome. I want to talk about the future, but before we do that, we will take a quick break to hear from today's episode sponsor. We are always very appreciative of them. They're leading the future of artificial intelligence, Capris AI. This episode of Asking Good Questions is brought to you by the great folks at Capris AI. As someone who's spent over 25 years helping improve the office of the CFO, I am genuinely excited about what Capris is doing. They're bringing the power of AI to finance and accounting teams in a way that actually makes sense, helping unlock insights buried in data and make better business decisions even faster. If you're in FP&A or accounting and you want to see how AI can transform your workflow, check out Capris AI. Trust me, your future self will thank you. Welcome back. I hope that brief word from our sponsor was not only informative, but motivated you to maybe want to try them because producing these episodes is a great deal of expense and effort, and we appreciate them for handling the costs. Back to our guest for today, Kristen. During the break, we were talking about how accounting and finance, in some cases, even internally, we need to figure out how to adopt those technologies. Like, what can we do looking forward? What I'm noticing is the lines are blurring between the traditional accounting world, the traditional finance world, broader business intelligence. As we look towards 2026 and beyond, do you see those boundaries being as clear as they historically were? The debits, the credits, the closing, the consolidation is solely the role of accounting. The budgeting, the planning, the analysis is solely the role of finance. The looking for trends and dashboards is solely the role of business intelligence. Do you see that either inside of your company or externally? Do you see those boundaries blurring?
I do see those boundaries blurring, especially in small to mid-size companies. I think, the larger companies that are running SAP and Oracle and the publicly traded companies like the GEs of the world, right, will always have an FP&A department and they'll always have their analysts. I think that the blurring of the lines and the advisory solutions that CPA firms like myself can offer our clients in that dual role allows those smaller companies to have access to analytics and analysis and expertise now at their fingertips that they might not have had before.
So let's talk about where it's going. We have AI. Obviously, it's not 5 years off anymore. It's happening every day and changing us every day. Let's start by talking about what you're doing internally within your company, within your virtual accounting area. What are some of the ways that you are using AI or that you're looking at using AI?
We're always looking to use AI wherever we can. It helps us to streamline our processes. It helps us be more efficient. That said, we are a CPA firm. We do have a higher level of standards. We have a lot of privacy issues with social security numbers in the tax department, everything else.
You probably also don't want AI hallucinating and making up numbers. I totally understand.
Right. We also have to look at the, credibility of what we're doing. So we have some paid services. We have partnerships with some AI companies where they handle a good portion of the month-end process for us. It's still in a beta testing phase for us, but we are liking what we see. But obviously, we need companies that have their appropriate SOX certifications. We can't commingle client data. We can't, when you think of AI in the world of AI, AI learns artificial intelligence from all of the data points of all of the information that's dumped into it. So the more you can dump into it, the faster it learns, the better it gets. Well, we need individual silos for every single client. You can't have client A learning from client B in the data world. So it takes a little bit more structure and a little bit more time. So patience, takes a lot of patience to figure out what the right path is. But we are beta testing some software right now that we really like. All of our AP software that we use has some AI built into it, right, on the coding side to help be more efficient. So we've been using that for years, actually, that's been around. So it gets better every quarter. When new releases come out, it gets better. Our general ledger software has some co-pilot functionality built into it where it's identifying outliers, and if something happens and it's not in the standard practice of what that client is, it will flag it and say, hey, somebody should look at this. So I think it's coming, or it's already here and it's getting better. But we can't take a 600-page sale document that I've signed an NDA for and upload it into some AI software and say summarize. So we still have some old-fashioned reading to do sometimes, and for privacy and security's sake, and we'll continue to look out for the best interest of our clients whenever that's possible.
Well, and you've hit on a few of the concerns that are being addressed right now in the world of AI. Clearly, we have data privacy, silo isolation of information. We have the PII side, personally identifiable information. Do we really want to be putting social security numbers or healthcare information out there? There are some historical problems that are almost gone now. Things like hallucinations. If you actually give it your data and use things like retrieval augmented generation, it'll give you the correct answers now. But we still have to, trust but verify. If I may quote Ronald Reagan, we have to be able to make sure that these indeed are the correct results. And there's a human that has to be involved. And I think that's part of what you're doing is even if that human is not there on the client side, the human is there at your organization to go, does this actually make sense? Like, are these numbers still rational? Do the books do indeed tie, even if the system tells me that they do? What are looking ahead? We know some of the concerns, and there are other concerns looking ahead to the point of maybe we all end up jobless. Maybe we don't have people coming into finance because they go, well, one day that's going to be replaced. How do you see AI being disruptive in either a good way or a bad way looking ahead in accounting and finance?
I don't necessarily see it interrupting accounting and finance in a bad way. I've always been a glasses half full kind of person too, though, and I think that it pressures us and it challenges us, really is the better word, to upskill our people faster, to take a look at our curriculums in colleges, to figure out how to get those entry-level people advisory faster. We can't just say, hey, in 10 years, after you've done all of these steps, you will then be ready to be a senior manager in accounting. That doesn't fly these days. We have to figure out how to get them to where they need to be much faster, and I think AI can help them do that, but they do have to understand theory. So I think it challenges the colleges to teach better theory so that they can play those what if scenarios and they know when something and help identify when something's not the way that we would expect it to be.
So it's an excellent point. There's a level of critical thinking. We have to look and make sure everything makes sense. You also make a good point about AI can speed things up. It can definitely enhance the situation that we're in right now, and it can scale. Rather than have to throw more humans at it as our business gets twice as big or hire twice as many services, we can have AI step in. But in addition to the enhancement side, the speed up side that AI applies, do you see it? Are there any financial functions you just see being completely reinvented, like how we think about it entirely changes with AI?
I do. I think because you're always going to have a business person, like my clients, right, are really good at what they do and they're not doing accounting. And you can't have a successful business without monitoring your finances and looking at your return on your investment and trying to look at how your business is making money and what is your profitability. And if the chances are somebody's whatever widget or product or service they're providing, they need to be providing that service and they need to rely on those experts to provide them the rest of it. Now, AI can help them get answers, but they need somebody to teach them what those answers mean. And they need somebody that they can bounce ideas off of. I mean, you can only have so many one-sided conversations with Siri. I think it's nice. It's great. Claude is great. I use Claude almost every day in my life, but not necessarily for client work. I mean, it helps me streamline my life and it helps me streamline a lot of things, but it's not necessarily, I think their time is better spent focusing on their revenue generating products, and some of their profits should be utilized for those services that they don't have time to learn. Are they smart enough to learn it? Absolutely. Right? Their chances are that they've developed some product that they're marketing, they're looking to solve a solution. I am sure that they could get to where they need to be. The question will be, how many hours out of the day is that going to take? And what could they be doing with their time? And how much do they value their time versus having a reliable accounting professional in their pocket?
Well, and in terms of that journey, they have to balance what they need to do every single day with what those longer term goals are, where they've got to say, we know we need to get to an AI driven world. We know we need to get to a world where all of our services are handled for us so we can focus on either driving revenue or fulfilling revenue. How do how should companies balance that? How much attention should they be paying to just achieving everyday goals and hoping the long term takes care of itself versus those long term business goals, like being more AI driven, being less people powered?
Well, I think that depends on the industry and the business, depending like from that standpoint. But from a finance standpoint, we will never get away from trying to be good leaders for our people and upskill our people and spend that face time with them. They don't need to be shoulder to shoulder, right? They don't need to be physically sitting next to me, but we do need to invest in the next generation, and we do need to invest in the next level and the next generation of accountants that come through the door. We still have a very robust intern program that comes through the firm. I think as far as the clients go, we work with them on their budgets. We work with them on their long range goals. Depending on how we can break those down into smaller bite-sized pieces will depend on what that ratio is. From a firm standpoint, we do quarterly strategic planning to identify the areas that the firm needs to be looking at, and depending on what department that is and how we're going to look at that. We have an innovation committee, we have a technology committee, and so we are always looking to better the resources and to actually make it easier to do business and make it easier, or not only make it easier to do business with us, but also make it easier to work here, right? I mean, accountants are known for their timesheets, right? How do we not make timesheets part of our daily, right? In my area, when I started Virtual Accounting Solutions, I don't bill anything by the hour. Everything I do is a value-based bill, and I try to that way it challenges my associates and the controllers to work smarter. If you have X number of clients on your plate and you can get those done in 6 hours instead of 9 hours, great, more power to you. So that's kind of where we challenge them to work smarter and to always be providing value. To take time away from our families. I really hope that we're providing value to our clients.
Excellent. Speaking of time, let's move to our lightning round. So, Kristen, this is going to be really fast time. So,
Okay.
quick questions, brief responses, whatever random thing occurs to you. Okay, first question. Most underrated financial metric for, let's just say, small to mid-sized businesses.
Probably your revenue per person in a service based.
I like it because far too much is done at like an aggregate level. And I also like expenses per person, like on a departmental level. Very good. One financial technology tool you can't live without.
My project management tool, we use Asana.
Very good. For far too many people, the answer is Excel and has been since 1995. I like that answer. Most common financial misstep that you see businesses make.
Trying to think that they can do everything themselves and they don't actually invest in their business by leveraging expertise from others.
Skill that has become more important for accountants in the last 5 years and skill that has become less important for accountants in the last 5 years.
Analytics are more important than ever, especially in trying to figure out AI. Less important, bank recs, because AI does a lot of them.
Excellent. Yeah, AI and technology is really good at figuring out if number A looks like number B. And if you think about it, it's kind of like how cave people did it. Like, does this rock look like this rock? I don't know why humans ever thought that should be our jobs. I'm so glad computers are doing it. Let's do two non-financial questions. Most valuable non-accounting knowledge that has benefited your career.
Smile and say thank you.
And final question, nonfiction book recommendation.
So, right now, I'm listening to Reality Based Leadership by Cy Wakeman.
Excellent. Kristen, it has been really illuminating to hear about your journey, how you've gone from the traditional accounting world, pioneering virtual financial and accounting services, how you are leveraging technology, how you can transform how those businesses understand and use their financial data. But before we wrap up, I always like to offer information to the next generation. So, what is one piece of advice that you'd give to finance leaders who are just beginning to modernize their approach to finance?
I would say find a really great peer group to belong to. We're all willing to share. We're all willing to talk about our failures and try not to repeat those. But if you have a really great support group around you, that's
Can't think of a better way to end. Thank you, Kristen, for joining us on Asking Good Questions. Thanks to our sponsor, Capris AI, for supporting this episode. To our listeners who are always really good at liking and subscribing, we appreciate you tuning in. If this is your first time hearing the podcast, you can follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. You can even find us on LinkedIn and at askinggoodquestions.co. Kristen, thank you.
thank you.
And everybody, until next time, keep asking good questions.